Shalom everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Daily Bread. This week's parasha is Parashat Devarim, which is the first parasha of the book of Devarim, which is also called Deuteronomy. And this parasha, Devarim, means words. And in this week's parasha we have the retelling of the law and the journeys by Moshe to the children of Israel, and some warnings and review of what they had been through so far. Anyway, in this week's parasha, one of the first things that I really find interesting, my message this year for this parasha is called Removing Barriers. And, you know, one of the interesting things that we see is that the whole parasha is essentially about retelling what happened to their fathers. You have the children that are now here. They've gone through this point where all of their fathers have died off, essentially, while wandering around in the wilderness. And now we're getting a recap of what happened. And it's a retelling of what happened and what their fathers did and what Yodewahe did. And we get to this point where, if we look at it, the initial problem, one of the main problems of their fathers, was essentially they were supposed to go spy out the land. And what you had is you had some people who came back and discouraged, as it says in this week's parasha, discouraged the hearts of the other Israelites. So you have a situation where they said, oh, you know, it's a good land, but essentially they said, it's going to be too hard to go in and take it. The giants there, they're bigger than us, you know, we're like grasshoppers. And they discouraged the hearts of their brethren. And it's funny because I see this happen all the time now in the Messianic movement, all the same way. And you see it in Christianity too. What ends up happening is you see this, I guess you could even say you see it in the Jewish religion if you put it in different context. One thing that you see with the Messianics is they say, oh yeah, we have the Torah, this is what makes us great. Oh, we have Messiah and the Torah. But then a mass majority of them will turn around and say, oh well, you know, keeping the Torah, you know, isn't for salvation, you know, it's not necessary, you know, it's not going to get you anything. It might get you some blessings. What they're really saying is that you don't really have to obey God unless you want to, because they're bringing some of that same baggage that they had from Christianity, which is there's some magic sentence you can say that gets you this membership, and once you have that membership, that's the real key thing, and then anything beyond that is just like how many extra, you know, benefits you want to get. And I don't think that the Torah supports that. I don't think that the Bible supports it at all. I think people are fooling themselves into believing a lie and believing what they want to hear and what they want to believe. When I look at this parasha, we see that the children of Israel, here's the fathers, they came out. They had this title, oh, we're the children of Israel. We're the children of Elohim. God saved us. You know, we've been saved. We saw the miracles and the salvation of Yodewahe, as it said. We saw all this stuff. But at the end of the day, they didn't believe Moshe, and they didn't believe Yodewahe, and they weren't willing to do everything else that was part of what Yodewahe wanted them to do so that they could go into the land. Their disbelief, their disobedience, and their discouragement that it can't be done hasn't changed. So most people today, it's funny because most people in many ways are self-righteous, and they figure, oh well, you know, even in Christianity they go, well, it's the sinners out there that we need to go save. You know, how many souls have you saved? We got to go get to the strip club and save those wicked sinners who don't know Jesus. But the problem is that it's about going out. Everybody assumes they're the good guy. They assume I'm righteous, but it's the other people who've got a problem. And so they figure, you know, we've got to go out and help these other people. Well, the problem with that type of thinking is that it just doesn't line up in the Torah. In the Torah, you can see that it comes down to your obedience, comes down to your belief, and that will play out to other people. So in the Messianic movement, we have all these people saying, oh, nobody's perfect. I mean, we brag about having the Torah, but you can't keep all of it. Nobody can keep all of it. What a total lie. The person they're following, Mashiach, kept it all. Do you think he's the only one? I don't think so. As a matter of fact, I think that he wants us, as he said, I would that you were one with me, as I am one with the Father. How is he one with the Father? How do you describe that? How do you define that? You define his oneness to the Father, not because he wore purple shoes or because he parted his hair on the left or right side. The way we know he's one with the Father is because he kept all of the Torah. So if he says he wants you to be one with him, I believe he wants you to keep all the Torah too. That's how he's connected to the Father. And so it's just interesting how many justifications and lies, what people will tell themselves. Look, you don't have to make up an excuse. If you don't want to do something, just don't do it. But don't try and say that you don't have to. That's the lie. That's the discouraging of your brothers. That's the ones who came back and didn't want to go in because they were afraid. But what they did and what their sin was, in addition to that, was they told other people that you can't go in. We can't do this. And I see people doing that with the Torah. They're discouraging the hearts of their brethren from keeping the Torah and keeping all of the Torah. And when you looked at it, 10 out of 12 did that, of the leaders of Israel. And so I think it's something that's important to be made mention of and think about in this week's parasha, is don't let your disbelief, your disobedience, and your discouragement, go out to your brothers. And people will do that. They're still doing that. The Christians, in a way, say, well, it's the same thing in a different package. Oh, well, Mashiach did away with the law. Well, you just don't want to keep the law. So did Mashiach command you that you can't keep it? That it's bad to eat kosher? Did he command you and say you shall not eat kosher? It's funny because people say, a lot of times they have this mentality that, well, it doesn't say I can't do this. Well, if you apply that same thing, they do that to get out of things. Well, it doesn't really tell me I have to. Well, what about flipping it around? How about, where did Mashiach tell you that you can't do it, that you shall not clearly say it? Because, see, it doesn't clearly say that any more than it clearly says against. At the end of the day, you don't have to do anything you don't want to. You're going to do exactly what you want to do. No matter how you justify it, it doesn't matter. You're still going to do what you want. That's what people do. If you don't want to do it, great. But I think there's a great danger if you discourage others from doing it. Anyway, so we get to the story. These are all barriers. The giants were a barrier that caused disbelief, discouragement, and disobedience. Now you have in this week's parasha, the children of Israel, they're over here. You got the Yarden right here, and the promised land's on the other side. And you got the Yarden, which is separating the children of Israel from going into the promised land. Right on the other side of the Yarden, you got mountains. Big mountain range. Another barrier. And then you got the people, the giants and all those people. That's another barrier. And these things are scary. But what's happened with this generation is that they've been retold what their fathers did. They've already defeated giants. They've already done a lot of what they need to. And it says that Yodewaheh fights for you. He fights for us. He already proved it. They're getting strengthened. They're growing as a child. They're getting stronger. So that now when they get the choice to go in, can they do it? Yes, they can. They can go in and take that promised land. And they're going to be the ones that overcome the barriers. Other people won't overcome the barriers. So all I can say is, everybody thinks they're so righteous. They're the ones that are already saved. They're the ones that have already got everything. They're guaranteed this spot. But what disbelief, what barriers do you have that's going to keep you from going into the good land that Yahweh promised us? So, credible message this week, a warning, a message. Learn from the fathers, learn from the Torah, those who went before us. Don't die in the wilderness because of your disbelief that you can't do it. I say, till next week, Shabbat Shalom.